From CBS 47 and Fox 30, it's time for This Week in the 904.
Welcome to This Week at the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner. This is a community affairs show, and it will focus on politics, public policy, and all the issues that affect our local communities. And joining us today are Forrest and Stacey Bailey. You guys have such an important role in your community that unfortunately came about through such a tragedy. For the folks who may not know the backstory of what happened with Tristan, your daughter, kind of walk us through what happened.
Certainly. So Mother's Day of 2021, we woke up and, Stacey was planning to have a great family day, and the kids were going to make her breakfast. And in the midst of that, what we found out is that our youngest daughter, the baby of the family, was missing. And it set about a very horrific day because, we thought at first it was a missing kid case that maybe she had stayed with a friend or something like that, only to find out later that afternoon that a classmate of hers had murdered our daughter. And so that was what kind of started that day, though, is also what started so much of everything that's happened since then, because while our daughter was taken from us and just brutally murdered by very, very evil individual, we saw an incredible amount of kindness that came from a community. We also learned a lot about how our daughter fought for her life in the coming days. We became very supported and in turn have supported a lot of families that have lost kids and learned a lot about victims advocacy. So it was a horrific day almost 4 years ago now. And, just a grueling process. But even in that grueling process, we were fortunate. It's weird to say that, but we have an incredible St. John's Sheriff's Office that from the get-go had the most wonderful investigation. The 7th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, unbelievably great in prosecuting the crime. And not only did they do their jobs well, but they did their jobs in a way that was caring towards us as a victim's family.
Yeah.
And the St. John's community, actually all of Northeast Florida, there were so many ways in which they supported us and lifted us up, and that's carried us through to this day.
Well, and that's one of the things, this was not just a crime. This was national headlines. I mean, you guys were not only going through something so traumatic, but you also had a spotlight focused on you for months. I mean, how do you navigate that in such a difficult time?
I think it's really leaning on your family and leaning on your friends to get through it, because it was day by day and minute by minute to get through and be able to even breathe.
I think one of the other ways that we got through is realizing what spotlight we really wanted to be shown. And we realized at that point in time the spotlight needed to be on what law enforcement was doing and what the prosecution was doing, not necessarily on all the things that we were dealing with. So we elected to not get into a lot of the news magazines and national media that reached out because we were focusing on ourselves. We were focusing on our grief and being together as a family, her friends. And fortunately, the local media here in Jacksonville, definitely yourself included, have been phenomenal. So respectful of our privacy as we were going through things. So that helped us kind of build in time. And, we did keep our word, because we told all of the local stations here that when things were done, we would sit down and talk with you guys. And we have, and just have been very fortunate to live in Jacksonville, where we have so many great people that are here. And when we asked to step away, people allowed us to do that.
Yeah, I think anybody can understand how important it is to respect that boundary and give you guys that space. and you're wearing teal, and you talk about the community impact and the support that you guys had. I mean, I remember there are still teal bows on trees.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you guys seen specifically, whether it was directly to you or just around the community, that has you feeling the love?
You know, every so often, like, people still reach out that we still have teal ribbons on our tree for you, and we drive down the road and people have their teal lights on. Like, it makes you realize that there is so much love out there. And I think especially for us when we drive down our street, there's our neighbors, there's all teal lights on, and it gives you a sense of peace that you have your people there for you.
Yeah, I mean, because it's been 4 years, but she's not forgotten. You guys have done a great job of keeping her memory alive. For folks who didn't get to know her, how would you describe Tristyn and who she was?
Just a ball of energy. So a lot of the focus gets put on the fact that Tristyn was, part of the cheerleading community. She cheered at both her school, as well as doing competitive cheer at some of the gyms here. And there's elements, if you think about a cheerleader and full of energy and support and all of those things, that was definitely her. We saw a different side, obviously, in the family. She was that sister that no matter who it was, having 5 kids, everybody's very different focuses. She was always ready to go and hang out with any of them, and was a great student, had aspirations of becoming a doctor one day. So, she was doing a lot of things really well, but the stories that came out afterwards, because when you're raising your kids, you see a lot of the discipline things maybe at home, and she was definitely a bundle, and so we kept me challenged. But hearing what she did when she was in the school, the friends that she would talk to, even interacting with teachers, and she just was very comfortable with herself and with others, and that came through. And she allowed other people to be their best. And that's why I think so many people that know her have been so passionate about helping us. When people are hearing the stories, it's why it's catching on, because the genuineness of who she was and the light she was shining comes through.
Yeah, and there's such an important legacy. You guys have created something to commemorate that. When we come right back, we are going to talk more about the Tristyn Bailey Foundation, what they do, and what their goals are in the community.
From CBS 47 and Fox 30, you're watching This Week in the 904.
Welcome back to This Week in the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner. Joining us today are Forrest and Stacy Bailey. You guys, obviously the parents of Tristyn Bailey, but also have founded the Tristyn Bailey Foundation in her honor. How did that come about?
I think the character development pillar started pretty much immediately after she was taken. She belonged to a few cheer squads, and we were invited at the end of the year banquet, and they used to, at the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association, they used to be given a bow, and it was for the leader of the entire camp, and she was given that. So then after she was taken, they passed that legacy on, and it's now called the Tristyn Bailey bow. And so it's given to a child that shows her the leadership, the kindness, the being a team player. And so that's really where that first started. And then it's just carried through that it went to the all-star cheer gyms, and now it's started in the schools where she was at Patriot Oaks. We just gave the first award for the girl that displayed exactly what Tristyn stood for.
I love that. And then the creation of a foundation. How did creating a foundation help you keep her memory, her legacy alive?
Yeah, I think I've heard it said a lot of time. It's pain into purpose, and I think that there's a lot of truth for that for people that have loved ones taken for them. It allows you to put some purpose for something that you can't understand. Ours, I think, is a little bit different. I wouldn't disagree that there's some pain to purpose. For us, I think a lot of it is reflecting back on the love that we saw from this community and the way that people picked us up and supported us, that we want to kind of pay things forward. Also, it built upon what we went through. So Stacy talked about, the character pillar, which is very important, and we're continuing to expand upon. We ran into 3 other pillars as well. So we created one around self-defense. There's another around dangers of social media, and the 4th pillar is around victims advocacy.
And so for folks who may not be as familiar with the case, why specifically do those 3 things tie in with what you guys experienced?
Certainly. So the first and one that's very difficult is self-defense. So my daughter was brutally killed. She was stabbed 114 times, and 49 of those 114 stab wounds were defensive. And we realized that she fought for her life, and so we just knew you never want another family to go through what you went through, and it was kind of like, how do you put somebody in a spot where they can do that? So that's where.
How do you help other girls out there?
Yeah.
And that was where we were fortunate at the St. John's Sheriff's Office have a program in place, Women Against Violent Encounters. It's probably one of the most successful things we've been affiliated with, and we've had to do very little because these people are phenomenal. They have a program that teaches some self-defense techniques, but the best thing is it teaches self-awareness plans. So that was one thing. The other pillar around social media, before it's hit us, we've gotten her phone back 3 hours before my daughter was murdered. Her killer did not have her contact details. So there's an element of how people are responsible with social media. The following day when she was missing, there were trolls online saying all kinds of things about, giving false leads that took away from what law enforcement was trying to do. And then we've had a lot of tactics thrown at us since then. 98% of everything out there has been phenomenal, great, supportive, it helps tell the story, but that was where the social media came from. And again, fortunately, we had Homeland Security investigations reach out to us. We've put a program together. We're really excited because we now also have Jennifer Dutton, who was the prosecutor in our case with Raven, that we'll be working with on that program going forward. And then the last thing was victims advocacy. We, as a family, were very fortunate because we had this amazing victims advocate in Ashley Mitchell, and she made a difference in how we got through and how we went through the process. But also we had a lot of support in how the crime was covered, because my daughter was 13 years old. She was surrounded by friends, she was surrounded by a whole bunch of people, and so the coverage and the details that were released had a big impact. So we were very fortunate. A good friend of ours, Matt Hinson, had a lot of connections and was able to work with some of our leaders, particularly Travis Hudson and Will Arnold in Tallahassee, to get a bill passed that changes the way that details are released in cases involving minors. To really, it definitely protects the victim's family, but also protects the community.
Well, and it sounds like you guys have so many things that are already in the works. We'll get more into the specifics of those in just a minute. We'll be right back, so be sure you stick around.
From CBS 47 and Fox 30, you're watching This Week in the 904.
Welcome back to This Week in the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner. We are here with the Bailey family and specifically talking about the Tristyn Bailey Foundation. Where we left off, we were talking about a bill that you guys got passed. What exactly does that do, and what was the impetus behind it?
Well, actually, we were very fortunate. There was another family that had a bill in flight, and so the bill is actually the Rex and Brody bill, because there was a scenario around domestic violence, and there were some details released that, the surviving family members didn't want released. Similarly, in our case, we had a lot of requests from organizations all over for probably graphic details of our daughter's murder. And so what the bill did was, as Travis Hudson would say, close a loophole in our Freedom of Information Act and say that some of the details that are out there and part of a crimes are not for the public benefit and actually could create harm. So things around like crime scene photos and things like that, when it involves a minor, are now not sent out to everybody.
I mean, that happened pretty quickly, right? You guys got that turned around.
Absolutely.
It was very quick.
Very quickly, and unanimous support from our legislature. We're very, very appreciative of them.
That's amazing. And you said you're expanding the personal defense portion.
Yeah, so we're trying to make it grow because we've just been in St. Johns County right now. So we've actually met with Sheriff Waters in Jacksonville to expand it with their PAL and create a self-defense program for the kids in Jacksonville.
That's amazing. When you talked earlier, you were saying you want to give other girls a fighting chance. I mean, how important is it that you give these young women, or even men, the tools they need to be able to protect themselves?
Well, you know, you don't think that you're ever going to be in that situation. And I think that, you know, having the situational awareness as well as having the self-defense tactics is crucial, because even when we've been in the self-defense classes with WAVE, they go in and they talk about like, hey, did you stop and did you look? Where's your exit? If somebody came in here, how would you get out? And it's things that you don't think about that. So I think giving every kid the tool, and adults the tools to think about, how do you do this? So we're happy that we're able to expand through Jacksonville as well now.
And there's a softer side you guys have too. You were talking about blankets.
Yeah, so we, the cheerleaders in St. Johns County at the Middle School Athletics Association, they have created blankets, and we'll be doing this going forward with the new ones coming in for this year. But they created blankets that we can pass out throughout the victim advocacy offices, through the sheriffs, through St. Johns County sheriffs, and that way they can give them to other victims that are in need.
It's interesting. I mean, something as small as a blanket can provide so much comfort. It was important for you guys to put victim advocacy in there, because you said your victim advocate helped you guys out so much, right?
Yeah, our victims advocate was phenomenal, and this year we were able to recognize 2 victims advocate from the 4th Judicial Circuit, both Mackenzie and Zena, who created a program that got jackets for people that needed to go to court and things like that. These victims advocates in our community do a lot to get people through the legal process, and so we want to support that. We also fortunately had Nikki Carswell, who leads the Silent Women Speaking Foundation, who reached out to Stacy and brought her in with a number of mothers that lost children due to violence. And so making those connections, leaning on one another has been important. That's something where, again, our community. We have the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. We're going to have a night with them on June 4th. The Icemen, we're doing something with them on April 13th. The Jacksonville Sharks have reached out about doing something on home games. And these are all opportunities for us to allow community to come together, where family that has lost a kid is just in the vicinity with other family, where we can lean on one another, because it's a position we would all like to close the door and never have another family go through. But for those that have gone through it, we need to lean on one another to be stronger and help get our way through.
Well, and unfortunately, it's such a unique thing to experience. I mean, that it would make sense you'd want to surround yourself with other people who really truly can understand what going through that feels like, and help each other. Some will be further down the road than others, and help each other through the process. The term you guys use is angel families. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
What is an angel family, and what do you guys do for them?
So angel families, the background of that is, when you've had a child taken from you, they become their angel in heaven. And so what's left behind is the family until you're reunited one day. So that's where the term kind of came from. We do a number of different things. There's a lot of people across the country that have had children taken from us or from them that reach out to us. So, that's one thing where it's just experience. Matt Hinson also has helped a lot of them with regard to dealing with media and cases that are there, because he definitely helped us. But locally, what we do is we do like a First Friday thing where we just allow families to come together. We'll meet up at a restaurant and just have community with each other. So those are some of the things that we're doing, focusing on the victims advocates that are doing things where laws need to be addressed, have laws, but then the other big part is just community of people to lean on.
For folks who might want to get involved with what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
We have so much going on that really the best way to do it is to go to tvstrong.org. You can look up Tristyn Bailey Foundation. The website has a lot of what we're doing, what's coming up, what we've done, ways that people can get involved and support, in ways that they can find help. We also have Tristyn Bailey Strong both on Facebook as well as Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I know this is not an easy topic to talk about, but I love that something wonderful is coming out of something so terrible. So thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
And thank you guys for watching and staying with us. We'll have another episode of This Week in the 904 next Sunday.
Thanks for watching This Week in the 904.